Hey there everyone, and welcome to the start of a new series from AZ Drone. Right now we're actually out on location and we're starting up a new project today. This project that you'll be seeing in the near future is for the county, and they're actually doing an infrastructure project, and we got contacted recently to see if we could handle doing the project for them, and the answer was yes. So we're at the end of a new connector road that's going to be getting developed here in Prescott on behalf of Yavapai County. Now, the bigger part isn't what we're doing today. This is going to fit into a new video in the very near future. But over the next couple of weeks in 2022, we're going to start posting some videos about projects that we've done. We're going to talk about how I make an income utilizing my drones and the types of drone services that I do. Now, there are a lot of different types of services. We specialize in construction progression, and we've started doing a lot more real estate work on the side as well. But our primary thing is construction progression, where we're doing 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional models. We're doing time-lapse video, time-lapse stills, time-lapse orthomosaics to show construction over a period of time. So what I'm going to start doing for my YouTube channel and for my Teachable channel is we're going to dig up some of those old projects that we did years ago, and we're going to walk through how I got the project, how we executed the project, how we delivered final results to our clients, and we'll also talk basically about making money with your drone. Now, there's no set standard prices out there today. People usually come to me with different projects, and we bid each project individually. Over time, could we get some kind of pricing formula? Maybe, but a pricing formula on a property with 5 acres versus a property with 26 acres, and that 5-acre property has 6 buildings, where the 26-acre property has 25 buildings. Those are some big differences, and right there, when we start talking about that, we realize that standard pricing might not be the best way to go for us in our businesses. We're going to talk about all of that. But the big part today is I just wanted to announce this start of a new series. You will be seeing what happens on this particular job, and the big questions: how did we get it? How did we execute it? And how did we deliver to the client? So look forward to this new series on AZ Drone, on YouTube, and on our Teachable classes.azdrone.net. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this is going to be a really exciting and informative series for you. All right, here we are. We're back from the field after spending about an hour and a half outside this morning, flying this new particular job site. So before we start jumping into this project, let's rewind a little bit and talk about getting projects. So if you're interested in, how to make money with your drone and grow your drone business, we're going to be covering that in this new series here. We'll be talking about how we get our customers and then the types of jobs they want us to do. Now, up on screen, you're just seeing some test footage here from today's flight. So this particular project is for what's called the Sundog connector. So it's a new connection road from part of Prescott, Arizona to Prescott Valley, Arizona, to help ease up on some of the traffic congestion. So let's talk about, like I said, let's rewind here. So number one, how did we land this job? Well, very simply, most of my inquiries come through my website. So we have azdrone.net and we have seemybuild.com as well. So the vast majority of the work that we've been getting over the past couple of years, that work has been fed in through our website. So the website's a really important part of our business to let people know what type of work we do, give samples of the type of work we do. So it's not just, hey, I'm a drone operator. No, we actually provide people with concrete images and models and videos. You get the idea. And so, by the way, I hope this isn't distracting too much on screen, but I just wanted to have something in the background for you. So the other week we got an email from someone working with Yavapai County. They explained what they were doing, that they were working on this particular project, the Sundog connector, and they were wondering if we could provide some still images and some video for a presentation about this particular project with the county. So of course, I got back in touch and I had a list of questions. So I understood where this particular project is going on. And, anybody in the Prescott area is pretty familiar with the Sundog connector and when it's going to be coming together. So I asked several additional questions beyond just, where it is and what it's for. We also asked for information like a KML file from their GIS department. Because one of the things before we start quoting prices or anything to people is we actually do a little bit of research. Well, not a little bit, a fair amount of research before we start giving people prices for what we're doing. So after I got the initial contact, I wrote up a series of questions. I wanted the KML file. I wanted to know the area that this was stretching in between. And within a day, I had an answer back from the contact. And she let me know all of the information that I was looking for. And she also let me know that she was going to follow up with her GIS folks to see if they could get me a KML file. Now, why did I want a KML file? So that I could start planning some things and seeing where this corridor is going to be. So let's go ahead and minimize the QuickTime player here. And what we're going to do next is I'm just going to double click the sundogrich.kml. So she sent along a KML file. It was a really small file. These usually aren't too large, and I just double clicked on it. And you may or may not be able to see this here very well. There is a thin red outline going around this area. And so this is the corridor that they're speaking of, that they wanted to see if we could photograph it and video it for them. So once I got the KML file, I popped it up into Google Earth first just to get a quick look-see. And this gave me a great idea of where they'd be needing us to fly. Now, in addition to just wanting to see this, I also wanted to check the FAA's charts here to make sure, hey, can I fly in this area? Controlled airspace, uncontrolled airspace, what are we dealing with here? Well, on the left-hand side of this, what we found is that we could fly up to 400 feet above ground level, and I use a loft for my Lance application, so that was not scary at all. By the way, this connector is about 3 miles, and while we're doing this, we do keep things within visual line of sight, so we had to work out a couple of places where we could park and launch from to do these flights. Now, so on the left-hand side, so on the western side, 400 feet above ground. Moving over into this, right in this area, it came down to 250 feet above ground level. And then the last third going over to the Home Depot is 0 AGL. So we're going to have to look into getting some permission here to fly this section if we want to connect it all together. That's not necessarily needed in the case of this one because they wanted to show some of the connector, have a presentation, so it might be that that first 2/3 is all they need, and I can still shoot to the east and get some of that 0 AGL from the 250. So that's one of my other plans. After I took a quick look at this, I decided that I wanted to get a little more detail for myself just looking into things. So that little additional detail, I'm just going down here, there we go, is QGIS. So for all of my planning now this year, since I started using QGIS, which is an open source application, so that means it's free to you for Windows and Mac users. So I took the KML file and I popped this into QGIS for myself. I wanted to get a better look, see the topography going on in here. And oftentimes I'll use this for looking up parcel numbers as well. So on the western side, you can see we're going up a pretty steep slope. The lowest point in this entire corridor is 5,200 feet. The highest point is 5,600 feet. And like I said, we've got areas where we can only fly 250 feet above ground level. So this gave me a better idea and a better impression. So what I did next for myself, we still haven't quoted the client, by the way. I do all of this beforehand so that I can explain to them why I'm asking these questions and what things we can and can't do. So I'm going to minimize QGIS now. And the next thing we're going to pop up is the Litchi Mission Hub. So in Litchi, you can import missions, and I can do this with several other autonomous flight apps as well. But in here, we can actually do an import and we can import the KML. So this is the KML that came to me. And so this gives me a boundary area. So this is the corridor that they're proposing to build this new road through. So we're definitely not going to be doing things right on the edge of the corridor on these lines here, on these boundaries. So it's going to be inside of this area. This gives me on my iPhone, when I pull up Litchi, I can see where I should and shouldn't be flying. So I'm not even using this for autonomous drone flight. I'm using this to give myself basically my own geo-fenced area. And yes, you can do that with other autonomous apps as well. Once I had this laid out for myself, I saw where we could and couldn't fly. I contacted the client and let them know what I thought of the project and what we could do for them. They pretty much immediately, same day, agreed to working with us and agreed to working with our price point. So in the next section, after all the flight planning, after the investigation, what goes on next? Oftentimes, if we're allowed to, we will go visit a site beforehand just to check everything out, to find out if there are obstructions, to find out if there's any issues on the site, and also to double check where we can park safely and operate from safely. So this was another big part. We went out and we flew this today, but before we went out to fly it today, I've had this information for several days. One of the things, I'm just zooming in here on Litchi, and in Litchi in here, we do have the circle that's part of the Yavapai connector. So this little traffic circle is 3 ways right now, and here's the 4th, so they started the road up for that connector. Now, what you probably can't see very well is there are barricades here. No barricades on this side. So we did contact our person with Yavapai County, and she checked in with the authorities for us beforehand. And we were given permission to park in this area because the other side did not have barricades. So that's where we went ahead. We also inquired about a couple of other launch points that we wanted to utilize, one being right in here, about a third of the way across the corridor. And so we spent a good bit of time here today, flying both east to west and west to east as well. And finally, we checked out one more area where we could park ourselves, and that's into the 0 area. So that's something we're going to be following up with to see if we should go ahead and get some permissions from the FAA to do this last side, or if what we collected today is good enough. So we'll find that out. So once we had everything, all of this planned out for ourselves, the next part was going out in person, checking this out. So we went out several days ago in mid-afternoon as some of the monsoons were starting to brew up. So we weren't planning on flying for the day at all. But we did notice in here, and it's not very visible on a lot of these maps, but we did notice in the corridor some very large high tension power lines and the towers that go with them. So here's another point. Walking the area or visiting the area is really important to make sure that you know where you're flying, that you know where unsafe areas are, and that you know the elevations that you should be at while you're executing all this. So our visit the other day gave us some additional information, additional unexpected information. Well, not truly unexpected because we've seen the power lines from Route 89 and other locations. So we did that visit. And after doing that visit, having our information back about parking in that barricaded area on the traffic circle, we were ready to go. So that's when we finally get into doing the actual drone flight. So we do a lot of upfront beforehand, and I recommend that you consider doing that as well. You will get a reputation for being a safe operator, a timely operator, and an operator that shares full information with clients so that they know what we're doing for them and they can actually see it real time the type of work we're doing, which leads back to getting more clients and referrals. So we got out there this morning, we did our filming, and then you saw the end version of this, where I was actually talking to you from the traffic circle about doing these new projects, sharing projects on YouTube and on our Teachable channel, and walking you through how it is we actually make our money. So at this point, now that we've gotten all of this done, we did the initial flight. The next step is actually to go through all of the media that we collected today. So the next step in my process is actually going through and scrubbing through all these. And I'm going to close this one actually because we're going to use everything that I normally use. So oftentimes in the videos here, for being expedient, I will just go into whatever folder I've saved something into. But in the case today here, I'm going to go down to my applications. I'm going to go to Kyno. So I utilize Kyno for managing all of my video footage for my clients. So Kyno is a great tool for video media management. Years ago, I was looking for something like Lightroom. Lightroom's great for photography and managing your photography. But, boy, what a good look for me there. There we go. So I wanted something Lightroom-esque for managing video, and I found Kyno, which has been a fantastic find, and I use it regularly. So when we're managing all of this stuff, I'll usually be jumping into Kyno. Now, in a lot of my tutorials, like I said, I'll just do folders to expedite things a little bit. But since this series is going to be a little more condensed here with a lot more information, let's just talk about the whole real process. So I'm going to close this one, and what I'm going to go to is my client data, and then we're going to go down to the Yavapai County. There we go. And there's all of our video in Kyno. So this is my next step. We get everything offloaded, and then I start scrubbing through things. So every project is different. This request was for video and for stills, not for orthomosaics, not for two-dimensional or three-dimensional modeling, not for time-lapse. We're showcasing this corridor for a public hearing so that people can see where the corridor is and have informed input about the Sundog connector. So the scrubbing through all this is my next big part. We'll go through, we'll look for good clips, we'll look for where I really botched it, and then I will start assembling a final video for our clients with Final Cut Pro. We've also started using DaVinci Resolve as well for video editing, so that we've got one more tool available to ourselves. So at this point, now we're in the building. I'm going to be doing the edits and things, and we could call this done right now. You don't need to see the full video editing. I do have a new series on video editing on channel as well. But what I do want to point out, so let's talk about what got used for this particular project. And we'll see another follow-up video to this, wrapping this project up as well in this series. But what was used here? Well, number one, our motor vehicle for getting out to the job site, of course. So, having your car, having it gassed up, having it insured. I do carry liability insurance for my drone work, so that's an extra monthly or yearly expense. We utilized the Mavic 2 Pro. We've got two of those. We've also got the Phantom 4 2 as well. But for this one, we brought both Mavic Pros out, extra batteries as well. We always bring two drones with us. So if we have any issues with one drone, we can switch over to the other drone. So that's what we use for all the flight. I also had a high-vis vest on so that people would know, that we're actually doing some work. I've got the little information on the back of the high-vis vest saying do not disturb. In the case of this one, now that we've come back to the office, I will be utilizing Kyno on a Mac Studio. I will be utilizing Final Cut Pro. I will be utilizing Lightroom, and I will be utilizing Photoshop as well. So there's all the applications. And as you saw from the start of this, I was also utilizing Google Earth, QGIS, and Litchi's Mission Hub. So there's all the other stuff that goes into this. My next step here now is going to be to go off camera, start sorting through all of this, and start assembling my video. So there we go. We've got a wrap up on a project that is one of the many ways that we make an income with our drone services. And we will be looking back at older projects, and we'll look forward to new projects to share some of this with you so that you have a better idea of how you can make money with your drone. And just to let you know, a lot of drone operators get their start with real estate. We didn't start with real estate. We started with construction because I was very interested in 2D and 3D modeling. So, it had to hold my attention, right? But as we've been doing our construction progression work, our time-lapse work, our time-lapse ortho work, all those types of things, we've been getting more requests from realtors as well. So our business is expanding because of the type of work we're showcasing. So going way back to the start of this, I can't stress enough how much a decent website with some examples of the type of work you do is going to go a long way. Like I said, I'm not out knocking on doors. I'm waiting for people to get in touch with me, and every week I have people getting in touch with me. So the website is doing its job, and I've asked customers directly, how did you find us? And what made you interested in the type of work we do? And the overwhelming response has been, we saw your webpage, we saw the types of work you're doing, we've seen the 2D models, we've seen examples of the 3D models, we've seen your time lapse, we've seen your 360s. We have a showcase for our potential customers, and the website is doing its job. It's driving people who are looking for drone operators in northern Arizona and Arizona overall, and those folks are getting in touch. Before I wrap this one up, I do have one other suggestion to all drone operators out there. Please be sure to contact your potential clients. Even if it's not a job that you're able to do, a courtesy phone call back to them goes a long way. I say that because when I was first talking with the folks with Yavapai County, they had several referrals from people that other folks they knew were utilizing in the area. Because this is a more unique project, standard drone operators who maybe are just doing real estate things, maybe they're not so comfortable with a project like this. It's understandable. If you haven't learned about doing some of these things that we do, then yes, not being able to fulfill the customer's request is okay. It's not a bad thing. But not letting them know, not getting back in touch, not even responding is a bad thing. So my suggestion to you, no matter the type of contact, even if it's a weird thing from a drunk person wanting you to follow them with a drone, up in Groom Creek as they mountain biked along, I had a contact like that, and the gentleman was very drunk, but it was a funny interaction. But always make sure to respond to folks, and that goes a long way as well to improving your own reputation. All right, with all that, I'm going to hop off and get back to work on this project. And like I said, we're going to be doing more projects like this going forward to answer the question, how do I make money with my drone?